Hi, I'm Dr. Nigel and I make video games. Currently, the big one I'm working on has a bit of a problem. That being,
it runs like garbage!
So, to help me solve this issue, I created a script which takes a note of every object in the game, and then creates a log of all of the information I want to know about them, being their path, their child count, and their positions. Now when you're at a city, there's about 9,000 of them, and I bet at least half are unnecessary. But I'm not sure that's the whole story. Join me as we take a look at finally getting this game up to scratch, and making it perform as good as it looks like it should. So, as a preface to this, most of the performance gains which I'm gonna get today will not be visible in the video. Why? Well, for one, the process of recording the gameplay does have a significant performance impact, reducing the overall FPS by around 10 up to even 20% sometimes. The second reason is that I'm recording at 30 FPS, whereas much of the improvement involves much higher frame rates. The frame rate counter will be visible in most instances, however, so it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So at the moment I have a large number of components in the game that simply do nothing. They serve no active purpose as they are waiting for something else to happen. An example is the engine particles on rockets, another would be the interiors of the various modes of transport of the game. So how do we solve this? Well, we use the optimization tools I've already made for other parts of the game, such as the planar LOD system, in order to make them perform better. This is used for various interiors and buildings, such as subway stations, and transportation interiors. This also includes removing nodes which just aren't plain visible, such as the various microscopic white dwarfs which are way too far away to actually render properly in the skybox. To deal with the engines on rockets, I decided to create a variation of this system, which simply spawns in the engines of a rocket stage only when the T- clock is low enough that they actually can ignite. Another variant of this was used for the deluge and diverted exhaust plumes at ignition. These modifications have now brought our node count down from almost 9,700 nodes to about 7,000. This is not that much of an improvement, but it is a start. Now, let's tackle dormant nodes on the ships. Spacecraft are tricky in this game as they have a lot of distinct components that all have specific roles. The most obvious part to tackle first is the engines. So I started by switching over to using GPU particles on the engines, as I did with the rockets this time last year actually. This moves most of the heavy lifting from the CPU to the GPU, making it perform slightly better, and it also gives me way more control over the plume appearance itself. Thus it also looks way better, especially compared to the old plumes. Next I added a system like on the rockets to remove the engine effects depending on whether you're on landing engine or RCS. Speaking of RCS, I decided to make a new particle process shader for them, allowing multiple thrusters to be controlled by a single emitter. And after that, well, it doesn't really seem to run much better. Now I spent a lot of this portion just going around in circles, trying to find every bit of lagginess which reared its ugly head in the ships. Primarily this was due to spacecraft interiors, along with various graphical features which, like much of the rest of the game, didn't really do much most of the time. I also found that much of the lag was a result of collisions. This is to be expected, and could be mitigated by using primitive colliders when far away as opposed to the convex colliders which are used for more accurate collisions up close. So, after dealing with these, we saw the first real fruits of my labour. 40. "51 ships! 30 FPS. 51 f***ing ships simultaneously. It will be better in the actual game." Even more ships spawned in within the duration of the test, ending with almost 60 ships, still at around 20 FPS. This is very good, and it's plenty enough for the combat sequences and the storylines. And with all of that done, all we need to do is deal with the rest of the laggy bits. I soon realised that I could use Visual Studio to do performance profiling on ARESDA, and after using this, I found a whole bunch of, well, bullshit frankly, Overall, I found that I have left tons of really inefficient and terrible code in my game, much of which I had no idea would be problematic at the time. So after eliminating those, things were running a lot better. With cities, though, I found that a decent portion of these problems would not be so easy to remedy. This is because much of the lag of the cities is a result of simply moving them, as far as I could tell, this of course means all of the child nodes must move along with it. Still, I tried my best, going through much of the code of city objects and trying to make them perform a bit better. In the end, it did end up improving things, provided the game was in a right mood. And this was where I effectively gave up for the time being. And so, the final tallies for performance. Flying around at minimum settings, except for the full skybox, gets around 120 FPS with editor and recording, likely to get up to even higher without. Without skybox, you're looking at around 150 FPS, perhaps even 160 without recording. Free flying with full graphics enabled, you're looking at about 90 to 100 FPS, again higher without recording. Minimum graphics near the top of the shipyard, you're getting about 110 FPS. Maximum gets you about 80, but this may vary substantially depending on conditions. I've reached up to 90 and even 100 FPS when not recording. Finally, the cities. These are perhaps the most variable in performance. With a rocket launch, you're looking at around 20 FPS at maximum graphics. Without, you'll get around 40. However, even on maximum graphics, I've still gotten up to around 40 FPS whilst recording, and when not, I can attest to reaching almost 55, nearly at the 60 FPS target. And, to round it all off, our current node count in new TriCaster is about 4,800. As I said, about half of them are unnecessary. I do want to stress, more performance improvements will be made over the remaining development period, and indeed afterwards. I mean, heck, I haven't even gone around to graphical performance yet. Hopefully though, I have laid a slightly stronger groundwork for how I can adjust these parameters to bring about the ideal performance of the game. And with that, don't forget to wishlist ARESDA on Steam, and I'll catch you lot next time.